Breakdown Media, we thanks for tuning in to another video. So yeah, I'm on break, and we chilling. So I just wanted to touch bases with you guys and say, like, peak season is here. Well, it's kind of here. Normally, peak season at UPS normally starts October 15, October 16, and lasts on to Christmas. But this year, it was told to us that it's going to be a lot shorter, which, I understand because the whole volume situation at UPS, it's a lot different from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So they're not expecting for it to be slammed with volume like in previous years. So that's why they're saying, well, hey, peak is only going to be about 3 or 4 weeks. But we're still ramping up now. Today is October 21st. They're putting on helpers. Today in our centers, our first day of them putting on helpers. It's not a lot, but it's a handful of helpers that they're putting on. And these are people that work inside already, and or they either helped last year, or like I say, or they work inside right now. So those are the first helpers to hit the road. They work in 3.5 hours today. So despite peak season being a lot shorter this year, they are still, looks like they're putting on helpers. And so today being the first day for helpers, it's very different, and it's going to be very different this year. The volume is not really supposed to hit. In fact, with my experience, the last few years, I can tell you this: the last few years, volume hasn't really hit. We'll be at a point to where, like, our management team say, hey, we had to cut routes today. Hopefully volume hit next week. A couple weeks before Christmas. And sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. It kind of just depends. So they have a way of seeing the volume levels for the next day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, right? And so it's like 50-50. Sometimes it hit, sometimes it doesn't. But most of the time, if not all the time, if the volume doesn't hit like talking about, they will cut back and they will pull back on routes. And they'll cut routes right in the middle of peak. Not saying like, you chopping the routes in half, but they will run it to where, try to run it as efficient as possible. And I've seen it, and it has happened. And like I said, the volume levels haven't really been really, oh, we getting slammed during peak. It's been smooth. It might have an increase. It'll be like a smooth increase, and then it'll kind of slow up, gradually slow up, leading over to Christmas. Which reminds me of years ago, back when I first started driving, there was a situation where we got behind, the company got behind on deliveries, where it was a big news story. It was just too many packages to be processed. Personnel wasn't up to par, and so trailers weren't able to get unloaded every day, so stuff got backed up. It got on the news. It was a horrible public story for the company. It looked real bad. It was a PR nightmare. And so since then, I forgot what year that was, but since then, it's been like they be like making sure they're super prepared, have enough staff on hand, and many times it end up being too much staff. But having enough staff on hand to where that PR nightmare doesn't happen again. And so every year, at least for the past 5 or 6 peak seasons, it has been well enough people, whether you're talking about helpers, or you're talking about um, the SSD drivers, the seasonal drivers, and some of the part-time drivers. It's been enough. And so this year, I don't believe, well, at least they're saying they're not going to hire the seasonal drivers off the street. We should have enough people drive seasonal from the inside. They should not have to go outside. But, many times a lot of stuff be said and then it ended up being something totally different. But just kind of giving you guys an update on peak season 2025. The company is going through a lot of changes. A lot of changes. And we make videos on this channel all the time talking about the different changes and the ins and outs, and people send me emails, ask me questions, and I share the information that I know, and I also try to share the information that I learn, and as soon as I can, put it in a video, and I try to update you guys. But it's a lot of changes. A lot of changes with the company, with the buyouts, with layoffs, with downsizing, with closing buildings, moving facilities, moving routes to different buildings, stuff like that.
Breakdown meeting.
And you have managerial buyouts going on right now. I have a few people in my center on the management team that taking buyouts, and they're gonna work throughout peak season, and after peak season, they're gonna go away. So there's a lot of changes. So it kind of aligns that this peak season is going to look different from other peak seasons, just because there's a lot of changes in general, and peak season being a natural change because of the volume levels and the whole Amazon situation. But just giving you guys an update. Nothing really to be alarmed or upset about, just an update. Might not have as many, and depending on where you at, it's always based on staffing situations where you at. It varies from region to region, from city to city, from building to building, but probably won't be as many people off the streets this year as far as the seasonal workers. But then again, there might, depending on where you at. So just giving you a heads up. So I've had people ask me, out and about, just on my personal time or even working, ask me, hey, are they hiring yet? And I'm like, you can check the website, but I always check it, and I really don't see much. So, but I do know for right now, they're definitely only bringing in people that already work inside in my building. Not too many people off the street, whether that's part-time or seasonal right now. But there's other parts of the country where they are still hiring permanent positions around this time of year, and in the recent 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Probably won't be a whole bunch of outsiders seasonal this year, for the most part. Not definite everywhere, but for the most part, probably won't be a whole bunch of outsider people this peak season, just because of all the changes. And most facilities have enough people that already work inside in order to staff up the extra work needed for seasonal, or the extra personnel needed for seasonal work. A lot of them already have that. And as far as the SSDs, the seasonal support drivers, many of those that's already working inside part-time, they are taking those SSD roles. I haven't seen so far in my facilities where they're bringing people on the outside and training them as SSDs. But if I do see that, I'll post another updated video to let you guys know what I see and what's happening. But as far as now, I don't see outside SSDs in my facility. So if you have a comment, a question, leave it down below, and we'll holler at you on the next video. Breakdown Media, we out.